Peace everybody, welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch, and today I'm going to preview this Saturday's UFC 218 going down. I think it's in Vegas. I'm going to pull this up and check real quick. But it's a stacked card that has a lot of potential for excitement. It's actually going down in Detroit, Michigan. So all the people in Michigan are in for a treat. So on this card, we've got Tecia Torres versus Michelle Waterson. We've got Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. We've got Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. We've got Alistair Overeem versus Francis Ngannou. And in the main event, we've got Jose Aldo rematching Max Holloway for the UFC featherweight title. Now, I'm going to start with Torres and Waterson. I'm going to try and get through this real quick. But honestly, this fight is probably the only one that's going to go the distance. And it's still going to be competitive and a very high-level display of martial arts. So, in Torres, we've got a Taekwondo black belt who is pretty decent on the ground, but she likes to make her bones by outpointing her opponents with activity. Waterson is a karate black belt who has some submission skills as well. We've seen them both have excellent wins in the octagon. Waterson was a champ in Invicta. So both of these girls are highly accomplished and highly skilled. So as far as what we'll see, I think we will see a very tactical, very striking match. You're not going to see like some just stand-up fighting where you see some leg kicks, some rudimentary boxing, and a couple attempts for a takedown. Both of these women are very creative with what they come up with when they attack their opponent. Torres likes to take a lot of angles. Waterson likes to use a variety of kicks. She'll use her side kick in many different ways, in many different places of the body. And she is not adept to taking people down and choking them out. So I think that would be Waterson's ace in the hole. But Torres is very hard to take down because of the way she moves and how quick she is with counters. Most of her opponents have found it very hard to take her down and keep her down. I think the only one who had any kind of success with her on the ground was Rose Namajunas, and maybe Carla Esparza a little bit. So in this one, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tight. And I think with Waterson's ability to get Torres down, I think that's going to be the X factor to get her the win in this matchup and back into contention in the division. So up next, we've got an absolute barn burner in Alvarez versus Gaethje. Both of these guys' idea of defense is for the other guy to leave openings while being hit in the face. There is no type of fanciness going on with their defense at all. They both like to get in there, mix it up, get hit, and just outlast the other guy. So I'm really expecting this one to be a knockdown, drag-out slugfest like many of Alvarez and Gaethje's fights. If you're familiar with both of these guys, you know what I'm talking about. They go in there, they're going to throw caution to the wind, and they're going to do everything they can to stay in their opponent's face and punch them until they fall down. And except for a few matches, it's worked for both of them. Gaethje is actually undefeated and coming into the biggest fight of his career against a former 2-promotion champ in Eddie Alvarez. He was a champ in Bellator and he was a champ in UFC. So he knows what he's doing. He's been very good at it, even though it has backfired a few times, most notably against Conor McGregor. Justin Gaethje is not Conor McGregor, but he has power, he is durable, he can recover swiftly, and like I said, with the exception of the McGregor fight, so can Alvarez. So if this one does go 3 rounds, expect a lot of landed leather, possibly a lot of blood, and an edge of your seat 3-round war. I'm thinking that it stops maybe like the 2nd or 3rd round. Like I said, both guys have power and they can catch you, even though they both have excellent recuperating powers. They also both have excellent finishing rates. So when they get a guy hurt, they know how to get him out of there. So as far as a prediction on this one, I have no clue. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no clue who's gonna win this fight. This one you just have to sit down, enjoy, and just get your popcorn ready, because those guys who are fans of just mindless brawls, this is gonna be it for you. And for the guys that can take the science out of those mindless brawls and still see that they are setting things up, it's going to be a treat for them as well, because it's going to be high action with high consequences. But both of these guys have subtle slips that they like to do, and that's really about it. They're not going to block. They're not going to do any parries or anything like that. They like to slip in between punches to land their own. But it's usually after they get hit. It's like, bam, I got hit. Oh, let me move my head a bit. Let me come over here and then throw my hook. But like I said, there'll be a small amount for the science guys, but a big amount for the action guys. So I'm gonna move on to Cejudo and Pettis. Cejudo, gold medalist wrestler. Pettis, a Rufus Sport prodigy, highly well-rounded. Had a few setbacks early on in his career, but being the brother of Anthony Pettis, there was a lot on his shoulders. This one will probably propel him to a title shot if he can win. Cejudo into a rematch with Demetrius Johnson if he wins. So this one has a lot at stake. Like I said, Cejudo, very good at wrestling. His striking has come along very well as he's transitioned into MMA. So this is going to be a high-level, high-paced match, sort of like Waterson and Torres. And I think I want to go with Cejudo on this one. I think his wrestling might be a bit much for Pettis. I think he can get him down, control him enough to where he can earn a decision. If he can get Pettis' hands trapped, he may be able to get a stoppage due to unanswered blows. And I think if it does stop, I think that's how it happens. I think Pettis is competent enough on the ground to where he won't get submitted. But Cejudo is very strong. And like I said, he's very good at wrestling. So he can get Pettis in a position where he cannot defend himself and score a stoppage that way. So now, in the co-main event, we've got Alistair Overeem, one of the most decorated strikers in MMA, versus Francis Ngannou, who is the young stud coming up in the heavyweight division. This one, I would be very shocked if it goes the distance. We've got two of the hardest punchers ever competing against each other, and one of these guys, Alistair Overeem, has been stopped double-digit times in the cage, and also he's been stopped in kickboxing. So punch resistance, he leaves a lot to be desired, but the ability to deliver devastating strikes, he's top-notch, one of the best. Now, they recently tested Francis Ngannou, and the power of his punch is the highest recorded in history. And that tells you that this guy can knock heads off. And you've seen it in his fights. He has got mind-numbing power. And honestly, I don't think Overeem can not get hit for 3 rounds and survive this matchup. I'm a really big fan of Alistair Overeem. And Unfortunately, that comes with being let down because of the high amount of times that he's been stopped. But watching him work is a thing of beauty. And I think he'll get off some good strikes until he gets caught. And recently he's been a little more safety first. He can get out of there a little bit. Sometimes he straight up runs. But with these two big guys, I don't think there's enough room in that octagon for him to stay away from Ngannou for 3 rounds. I think Ngannou catches him and puts him out badly. And that's going to hurt because, like I said, I'm a big fan of Alistair Overeem. But taking my fandom out of it, this one doesn't look good for Overeem. This looks like a stepping stone for Ngannou to really show that he's the next guy. And if he shows that, like we think he will, then he's going to be in line for a title shot against Stipe Miocic. Let's go into the main event. Aldo Holloway 2. In the first one, we had a very tight match until about the 3rd round, where Holloway catches Aldo, hurts him, and finishes him in emphatic and impressive fashion. This one is a short notice fight. Aldo, keeping himself in shape, was ready when Frankie Edgar sustained an injury and had to pull out. So Holloway, being the business guy that he is, says, hey, if Aldo's the one to get his ass whooped, then that's who it is. And shout out to him for being just such a confident and game fighter that he was like, hey, if you got to put me Aldo in front of him, I'm the best guy in the world. I'll take him out too. He already has. I'm thinking hopefully he doesn't have that Luke Rockhold, Michael Bisping syndrome where he just completely dismisses him and Aldo is able to go in there and buzzsaw him and we don't get something that's competitive. But I think Max Holloway's competitive nature won't allow him to get that complacent with the match at hand. He doesn't want to lose that belt. He doesn't want to lose that credibility. And I think we get another tight fight until Holloway catches him again. So, like I said, I was trying to keep this really, really brief. Holloway, with his long reach, his selective striking, high accuracy, Aldo has the exact same thing, except he has those deficits in the height and reach. And I think that, like in the first fight, is what's going to be his undoing. He has a bigger, younger, stronger version of himself, which is saying a lot because Aldo is probably the best featherweight that we've ever seen compete in the octagon. And Max Holloway is just the future. And he's going to continue to show that on Saturday night. So, thanks for watching, guys. I also want to apologize that, Rob and I have not been able to get together and make videos. We've both been very busy with work. I myself have been working 2 jobs in addition to my training on the side where I'm training people as well. So the plate has been very full over the last month or so. And I do apologize that we have not been able to get you guys out content consistently. But we are still in the lab constantly. We're still talking frequently. And we will get you that Rigondeaux versus Lomachenko video, because I know in the boxing world that's going to be huge. So we're definitely going to get that one up for you guys. And we possibly could get a recap of UFC 218 as well. So look out for both of those, because now that we've talked about what we think is going to happen, the next thing is to find out what happens and break it down for you. So go ahead and like this video. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe, because you'll get a lot of great content here at Capital Combat. Hit us up in the links below for any of our social network presence. We've still been very active on there, even though we haven't been making videos on YouTube. Leave your thoughts about who you think's going to win and how below. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, fight on.
This is round 1 and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.